I adopted Liam when he was 6 years old. He had huge brown eyes, tiny hands, and the kind of silence that breaks your heart if you sit with it long enough. The first night he slept in my apartment, he folded his clothes into perfect little stacks beside the bed, like he was afraid he might have to leave quickly. I remember sitting outside his bedroom door crying so quietly I could barely breathe, because no child should know how to pack emotionally. At first, my family pretended to support me. My mother bought him a backpack. My sister Vanessa smiled too hard. My father shook Liam's hand instead of hugging him. I noticed all of it, but I convinced myself they just needed time. I was wrong. The comments started small. At Thanksgiving, my uncle asked Liam if he remembered his real parents. At Christmas, Vanessa laughed when Liam called my father Grandpa. "Oh," she said lightly, "we're doing that now?" The table went quiet. Liam stared at his plate. I stared at her. Nobody defended him. Nobody defended me. That was the moment I understood something dangerous. People will say cruel things very casually when they think love isn't legitimate. Liam tried so hard, too hard. He cleaned without being asked. He apologized constantly. He thanked me for groceries. Once, when I bought him new shoes, he whispered, "You didn't have to." I pulled the car over after that because I couldn't stop crying. Children shouldn't feel guilty for existing, but my family made him feel like a guest. Not openly, that would have been easier. No, they used smiles, jokes, small cuts, the kind people can deny later. When Liam was 10, my parents hosted a barbecue. My cousin Ethan was showing off baseball trophies in the living room. My father looked at Ethan and said loudly, "That boy carries the Carter bloodline proudly." Then he looked at Liam and smiled politely. Politely, like Liam was visiting. That night, Liam asked me a question I still haven't forgotten. "Do you think Grandpa wishes I was different?" I couldn't answer immediately, because children know. They always know. I held his face gently and told him the truth. "No, Grandpa has problems understanding things sometimes, but there is nothing wrong with you." He nodded, but his eyes didn't believe me. Things got worse when Liam entered middle school. He was brilliant, quiet, observant, the kind of kid who notices emotions before words. Teachers adored him. He won science competitions, read constantly, and somehow stayed kind, which honestly amazed me because bitterness would have been easier. Then came the family reunion, the moment everything shifted. Vanessa had too much wine. She leaned toward another aunt while Liam sat only a few feet away, and she said, "I still think it's strange Emily never had her own child." I froze. My aunt whispered, "Vanessa," but she kept going. "It's just different, you know, raising somebody else's kid." Liam stood up quietly and walked outside. Nobody stopped him. I followed him to the backyard. He was sitting on the swing set alone, trying not to cry. That almost destroyed me, because he wasn't angry, he was embarrassed, like he thought he'd done something wrong simply by loving me back. I sat beside him, and for the first time, I said the words out loud. They are wrong. Not confused, not old-fashioned, wrong. Liam looked at me carefully, then asked, "Why do they hate me?" I swallowed hard. "They don't hate you." He looked away. "Yes, they do." And the terrible thing was, he wasn't completely wrong. After the reunion, Liam changed. Not dramatically. That would have been easier to notice. He just became quieter, more careful, like he was constantly measuring how much space he was allowed to take up. I hated it. One night, I found him deleting family photos from his phone. I asked why. He shrugged. "They don't really want me there anyway." That sentence sat in my chest for days, because he said it so calmly, like he'd already accepted it. That was the moment something inside me finally snapped. I spent years trying to keep peace, trying to translate cruelty into misunderstanding, trying to avoid conflict. But protecting adults had started hurting my child, and I was done. The next Sunday dinner changed everything. My mother made roast chicken. My father talked politics. Vanessa scrolled through her phone pretending to listen. Liam sat beside me quietly. Then my father said, "You know, it's impressive Liam turned out so well, considering—" He stopped, but we all knew what he meant. Considering where he came from, considering he wasn't really ours. I looked at him directly. "No," I said calmly. "Finish the sentence." The table froze. My father blinked. "I didn't mean anything by it." "Yes, you did." Vanessa sighed dramatically. "Oh my God, Emily." I turned toward her. "No, we're doing this now." Liam stared at me wide-eyed, probably because he'd never seen me angry before, not like this. I looked around the table. At some point, every single one of you decided he was temporary. Nobody spoke. My voice shook. But he's my son, not partially, not symbolically, completely. My mother started crying, which honestly irritated me, because she cried every time accountability entered the room. Vanessa crossed her arms. "You're overreacting." "No," I said softly. "I underreacted for 12 years. That shut her up. Then Liam did something unexpected. He touched my arm gently, like he was worried about me. Even then, even after everything, that nearly broke me. We left early. In the car, neither of us spoke for several minutes. Then Liam quietly said, "You didn't have to fight them." I looked at him. Yes, I did. His eyes filled immediately. And that's when I realized something horrifying. Nobody had ever fought for him before. Not publicly, not without conditions. That night, he hugged me longer than usual. After that dinner, my family became colder. Vanessa stopped calling. My father claimed I'd divided the family, which was funny because apparently protecting a child is divisive, but humiliating him was normal. Months passed. Then came Liam's senior year, and suddenly everyone cared again, because Liam was extraordinary. Top of his class, debate captain, scholarship offers from major universities, articles in local newspapers. Teachers adored him. People noticed him now, and my family started changing their language. My father suddenly called him my grandson in public. Vanessa posted congratulatory comments online. It made my skin crawl, because success had finally made him acceptable. But love should never be performance-based. One evening, I overheard my mother on the phone telling a neighbor, "Emily always had such a big heart taking him in." Taking him in, like he was a rescue dog, not my child. I realized then they would never truly understand. Not completely, because some people believe biology is ownership, but they're wrong. Love is ownership. Sacrifice is ownership. Showing up every single day is ownership. And I had done that. Every nightmare, every fever, every school meeting, every heartbreak, every fear. I was there, not them. Then graduation week arrived, and Liam told me something that made my stomach drop. He'd been selected to give the graduation speech. I screamed, actually screamed. He laughed so hard he nearly dropped his backpack. But then his expression changed. "There's something I want to say during it." I smiled. "What?" He looked directly at me. "You'll see." And suddenly I felt nervous, very nervous. Graduation day arrived hot and bright. The football field shimmered under the afternoon sun. Rows of folding chairs stretched endlessly across the grass. Parents carried flowers. Grandparents cried before anything even started. And I sat there trying not to throw up from anxiety. Liam looked devastatingly handsome in his navy graduation gown. Tall, confident, beautiful. My son. Mine. Not because of blood, because of life. Because we built each other. My family arrived late. Of course they did. Vanessa wore sunglasses like the ceremony was somehow interrupting her schedule. My father shook hands with people around him proudly. Suddenly, Liam was worth claiming publicly. The hypocrisy made me sick. Then the ceremony began. Names were called, families cheered, phones recorded everything. I barely heard any of it because I was watching Liam, watching the little boy who once folded clothes beside his bed like he might be abandoned again. And suddenly I couldn't breathe, because he wasn't little anymore. He survived, despite all of them. Then the principal introduced him, valedictorian Liam Carter. Carter. I saw my father straighten proudly, as if he'd earned that moment. Liam stepped onto the stage. The crowd applauded. He adjusted the microphone, then paused, and looked directly at me. Not the audience. Me. Immediately my chest tightened. "Before I begin," he said softly, "I need to talk about my mother." Silence. Complete silence. My mom adopted me when I was 6 years old. I saw Vanessa shift uncomfortably. She gave me a home, but more importantly, she gave me safety. My eyes started burning instantly. Liam's voice shook slightly. When I was younger, I used to think love had to be earned. Nobody moved. Nobody breathed. Because when people remind you that you're different long enough, eventually you believe them. My father lowered his eyes, and suddenly I knew. Liam knew everything. Every comment, every whisper, every fake smile. He always knew. My mom spent 12 years trying to make me feel chosen. His voice cracked. She spent 12 years fighting against people who made me feel temporary. Now people were staring at my family, at me, at him. Vanessa looked horrified. Good. She taught me something important, he continued, that family isn't blood. He paused. It's consistency. I completely lost control of my emotions after that. Tears, full tears, the ugly kind. She showed up every single day, he said, even when people judged her for choosing me. The crowd was silent, emotional, frozen. Then Liam smiled slightly. And if I become even half the person she is, I think my life will mean something. That destroyed me, absolutely destroyed me. But then he said the sentence nobody expected. Including me. To the people who spent years treating me like I didn't belong, I saw my father go pale. Thank you. The crowd looked confused. Because you made me appreciate the woman who never once made me question whether I was loved. Vanessa looked like she wanted to disappear. My mother started crying quietly. And Liam? He looked calm, peaceful, like he'd finally put down something heavy. Then he finished his speech, and the audience stood, a full standing ovation. People were crying. Teachers were crying. I was barely functioning. Liam walked off stage, straight toward me. I stood up, shaking, and when he hugged me, he whispered, "You stayed." 3 words. That's all it took, because underneath everything else, that was the real story. I stayed. After the ceremony ended, people kept approaching us. Parents, teachers, strangers. Everyone wanted to tell Liam how inspiring he was, and everyone wanted to tell me I'd done a wonderful thing. I smiled politely, but internally, I hated that language, wonderful thing, as if loving Liam had been charity. No, loving Liam was the easiest thing I ever did. The hard part was surviving other people. Then my father approached us, slowly, carefully, like he suddenly understood he no longer controlled the room. He looked older than usual, smaller somehow. Liam stood beside me calmly. My father cleared his throat. That was a beautiful speech. Liam nodded politely. Then silence, heavy silence. Finally, my father looked at me. I think maybe we made mistakes. Maybe. The word almost made me laugh. 12 years reduced to maybe. But before I could respond, Liam spoke. It hurts sometimes. Simple, direct, no anger, which somehow made it worse. My father's face crumpled slightly. I never intended— I know, Liam interrupted gently. And that was the brutal part. Cruelty doesn't always arrive screaming. Sometimes it arrives smiling politely across a dinner table. Vanessa approached next, visibly uncomfortable. I didn't realize you took things so personally, she said. I stared at her. Honestly, that was the moment I emotionally detached from my sister forever, because even now she couldn't fully admit what she'd done. Liam looked at her calmly. I was a child. That sentence hit harder than yelling ever could. Vanessa opened her mouth, then closed it, because there was nothing left to defend. Over the next few weeks, things changed. My mother called more often, my father tried harder, Vanessa mostly disappeared. But something fundamental had shifted, not in them, in me. I stopped needing their approval, stopped craving recognition, stopped hoping they would suddenly become emotionally intelligent people, because Liam already gave me what mattered. He trusted me, completely. One night before he left for college, we sat on the apartment balcony eating takeout. The same apartment where he once folded tiny clothes beside his bed, the same apartment where we built a life from nothing. He looked at me quietly. You know what I realized? What? You never treated me like I was lucky you adopted me. I frowned. Because you weren't lucky. He laughed softly. Then I smiled. No, sweetheart, I was. And I meant it. Completely. People talk about adoption like one person saves another, but that's not what happened. Liam saved parts of me too. He made me braver, softer, stronger, more honest. He taught me how dangerous conditional love can be, and how powerful unconditional love is. The truth is, biology creates relatives, but love creates family. And after everything we survived together, nobody on earth could convince me otherwise. Because the little boy everyone treated like temporary became the young man who changed an entire room with nothing but truth. And every single person who once questioned whether he belonged finally had to sit there and watch him become unforgettable. Meanwhile, I sat in the audience realizing something quietly beautiful. I never rescued him. We rescued each other.